We kind of stumbled across wild basil in just our kind of endless gathering of native ingredients that we hadn't used before. First got it through something wild in the central markets, and we're just blown away by how like kind of lush but also like peppery and spicy it is. Like it's really unique flavour. It's gonna be interesting for the gin, I guess, to see whether people will be able to piece together what wild basil itself is. I think it will be able to. But yeah, just really loved the things that it offered to the gins and the different distillates that we used. It featured relatively prominently in the Davidson Plum gin. That was a little teaser I gave you last interview. And yeah, just loved what it did there and wanted to give it its own little time in the sun. Its key relevance is, obviously it's native Australian botanical, which is pretty huge for us. It's also something that features relatively strongly in native cooking, as well as like various medicinal uses. It grows pretty widely through Australia as well, so it's relatively, I guess, widely used. So it would make sense that A, would eventually stumble across it, and B, that it would get its own little time in the sun, because yeah, it's pretty fantastic flavour, and that's one of the key things we kind of look for as well. Yeah, I can't remember who broached it first. Would have been me or Henry, but I've been pretty keen to do it, particularly because I guess a few of our limited editions and things like that explore some pretty tough to distill botanicals, and I was like, I know wild basil is going to like pop out of the still. You're going to be able to get its full kind of effect through a distillate, so I was pretty keen to use it. Super aromatic plant, really like quite fresh flavours, carries to the still really well. Like particularly when you use kind of fresher greens, you can get some almost like kind of like dense forest flory kind of notes. This had a little bit of that, but also had that really like high, like peppery note, really like lush. It's related to the mint plant, so it has a little bit of that mint characteristic to it as well, and I just thought it was super unique. We knew for sure we definitely wanted to go in like just a classic dry gin direction. Like we didn't want to, you know, do anything too fancy, whether it be like, you know, adding ferments or macerating post distillation or anything like that. We just wanted to be like a classic straight up gin that showed the botanical. So I guess the first steps took with throwing a few trials out there. Really liked what it was doing with the white Kunzia, for instance. Like we were like, oh, those are two kind of nose notes that go really well together, both like kind of vaguely perfumey, like quite herbaceous. Really thought it would play well with some pepperberry as well, and then some bush tomato for a bit of savoury stuff. So those were kind of the key tenets that we built it around. And then besides that, it was just trying to find, I guess, the balance. We kind of worked through various trials and we're like, oh, we need some freshness. So we're going in like a grapefruit and strawberry gum direction, like almost like candy thing, which was not where we went, and then came back and we're like, oh, we just needed that touch like peppermint gum on the top to really like pop out that top of the nose. And yeah, compared to most of the gins we make, this was a pretty quick one. It only took like took a few trials as opposed to kind of the expansive notebooks that have sometimes resulted from previous. Yeah, about the fifth recipe that we ended up trialing. Obviously then we go through the gamut of showing it around to I'll try it, and Agia will try it, who's our distillery hand, and then we'll send it off to Henry in sales, and we've got Laura to try it. Laura had a cold, she didn't like it, tried again without a cold, she liked it the second time. Very scared there, we all got on board. Of our Mono-botanical series, this is a botanical that really, for me personally, is one that I'm very excited to use, and then the results we got from that is something I'm very excited about. I think that it's a unique flavour, it's representative of where we're from, it's supported in large part by other native Australian botanicals, which I think is really cool, kind of that interplay between things that we've used in the past, things that grow near it, what grows together goes together, as they say. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting expression, and it's done in like a classic dry gin style, which I think is just really like quite refined.